This is CBS.
No, this is Patrick. That was a stupid joke. Apologize deeply. It's the first show, Nico. This is Cultured. It's a new show. First episode. Hit some things, I guess. The Grammy Awards. Everyone's excited. Except for Bill Burr, I suppose. Did y'all see that yesterday?
All right. Hey, how many feminists are like going nuts? So why is this cis white male doing all this Latino stuff?
So a bunch of people on Twitter last night pretended to be outraged about what Bill Burr said at the Grammys, which led to even more people pretending to be outraged at the people pretending to be outraged, which led to news outlets pretending to do journalism by reporting on all this nonsense, which, of course, led to more outrage. And there it is. Circle of life, Hakuna Matata. That's how the internet works. And if you participated in any of it, you're a moron. Even Elon Musk was excited about the Grammys yesterday, tweeting, "I love music. It makes my heart sing." And by heart, I'm sure he means that organ in between his lungs, connected to the Neuralink in his brain that will allow him to live for at least 200 years, colonize Mars, take over the world, and instill Dogecoin as the federally backed currency. Scary stuff, but at least he listens to Doja Cat, like you and I. Weird energy at the Grammys for obvious reasons. Outside, you had music's biggest and brightest stars sitting at socially distanced tables with masks covering their face, which prompted millions of viewers across the country to squint at their TVs and go, "Is that Beyoncé?" Yes, it's Beyoncé, and she cares about this even less than you do. Bro, 28 Grammys for Beyoncé all time. She's got more Grammys than the Yankees have World Series, and she could not care less, could not feign interest. By the end of the night, Jay-Z's there with a wooden trunk, 10 shiny trophies in hall. Oh, yes, another gramophone. Put these with the others, will you, Jason? Is Jason Jay-Z's name? Should probably look that up. Sean Corey Carter. I knew that. What I don't know is where the letter J appears in that name. That's outside the Staples Center. Inside, you have this makeshift ballroom where some other performers are going to take the stage. We begin the show with just a murderer's row. Harry Styles with one of 3 designer scarves you're about to see him don before the night concludes. Billie Eilish is standing on a used car that she doesn't even know how to drive yet. And Haim does their thing as everyone in the ballroom begins dancing, again, in socially distanced fashion. Real last guy at the wedding energy to this opening number. Trevor Noah's to the side doing a little jig. Everyone that was dancing looks like they stayed far too late at a wedding that they were barely invited to. Bro, you're like the second cousin of my coworker. It's 4 a.m, and now you're grinding against my grandmother. Go home. No one's here. We're not even paying the DJ. It's going to cost us a fortune. We're halfway to the honeymoon. The plane leaves in 3 hours. What are you still doing here? Life lesson to all the kids out there. If the question is, should I leave the wedding? The answer is always yes. If you are asking yourself, go home. You are not wanted. That's the kind of energy this thing had last night. So what's the narrative here? Well, it's tough with these award shows because oftentimes they're filled with a lot of good and a lot of bad. And this was no different. I thought overall, CBS completely ate NBC's lunch on this broadcast. That would be my main takeaway. The Golden Globes were a complete embarrassment. The producers at NBC could not figure out how to run a Zoom call correctly. Audio was dropping out. You got Al Pacino in a room with the guy from The Crown. It was awful. This is what we've learned so far from these COVID-era award shows. Maybe the Oscars will take a page out of the Grammys book here. Just film the entire show a week in advance. Like, that's clearly what happened yesterday. You cannot convince me that the Taylor Swift performance, the Lil Baby performance, those were taped a week and a half ago on a soundstage at the CBS lot. No one cares that it's happening in real time. Just tape the thing a week in advance, iron out all the kinks, Hire Roger Deakins to do the cinematography. Like, there's no reason why this needs to be live. There's always an issue with these live broadcasts, and it's always a story in the media the next day. Could you imagine when 4 years ago, Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway gave La La Land Best Picture? Could you imagine if they just taped that show 4 hours in advance? They cut out the error. They have everyone in the audience sign NDAs. No problem. The magic of television. I thought overall, as far as COVID era award shows go, this was probably the best one I've seen. Trevor Noah, an issue. I'm not going to harp on Trevor Noah too much because unfunny comedians need to work too. So I'm glad that this one got an opportunity. When you have me longing for LL Cool J to return to the Grammy stage, you know you have an issue. Alicia Keys' punchlines were more polished. Seriously. This is the moment when things started unraveling, and you realize that CBS was never going to ask Trevor Noah to do this again.
I don't know about you, but we have to cool down. We gotta go for a quick break and let the stage dry off. All right, Post Malone, Doja Cat, BTS, and Lil Baby are all coming up. This is it. There's some war in this house. 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 There's some wars in this house.
The FCC had a ball last night watching Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B on the California King bed. Woo! WAP. WAP. Whatever it's called. They went for it. They certainly went for it. Can't wait till they do that on the Oscars. Can't wait to see Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson get down to that in the front row. Silk Road made their debut. Or Silk Sonic, or whatever the hell they're called. What's Silk Road? That dark web, like, drug dealing ring? Is that what that was? Same difference. Silk Road's a pretty good heavy metal band name. Silk Sonic, Bruno Mars, Anderson .Paak, that's what they're calling their new group. They did their debut single, Keep the Door Open, their first ever public performance as Silk Sonic. Look, I love some guys that don't know what decade it is. I'm totally into it. As a guy that often forgets what decade he's living in, totally works for me. This performance was just immaculate. And so was their Little Richard cover, by the way, during the In Memoriam segment. We should talk about that. I think one of the many reasons why CBS just completely shoved NBC into a locker during this broadcast is that In Memoriam segment, which was just spectacular. In fact, one of the better In Memoriam segments I think I've ever seen. Bruno and Anderson did Good Golly Miss Molly for Little Richard. Lionel Richie did the Kenny Rogers tribute, singing the song Lady, which he actually wrote for Kenny Rogers several decades ago. The Brandi Carlile cover of John Prine's I Remember Everything completely brought a tear to my eye, not to be overshadowed by Brittany Howard from Alabama Shakes, Chris Martin on the keys, doing You'll Never Walk Alone, the Jerry and the Pacemaker song. Jerry Marsden, of course, passed away last year. I think the performance of the night has to be, right? I'm not like a soccer fan. When Cristiano Ronaldo sings You'll Never Walk Alone on the sideline, doesn't really do much for me. I hear this is a big soccer anthem, though. Crushed it. Black Pumas, though, I think had my number 2 performance of the night with their song Colors. A real revelation for me over the last couple months. In fact, just a few months ago, I'm reading the Grammy nominations, and I had the revelation that I have been living the life of an 85-year-old man in hospice care at the age of 25. So I decided, you know what? Let's dip our toe into the pop music waters, see what the kids are listening to these days. Colors by Black Pumas, one of my songs of 2020. Their performance was absolutely dynamite at the beginning of this broadcast. Dub Baby's out there with all the judges that Trump didn't nominate to the Supreme Court. The entire shortlist was there. It really was a touching thing. That performance, a massive win for the American judiciary. Bad Bunny, of course, performed. Biggest star in the world, I hear. I don't say Bad Bunny, of course. I call him Bad Bunny because of this Corona commercial.
No, baby, it's me, Bad Bunny.
Bad Bunny? Where you at, player?
Made me want to go to a club, and that's saying a lot. Love the Bad Bunny. Man, I'll tell you what, I am getting old, though. Dua Lipa comes out. I swear to God, I thought she was two people. I had no idea she was a solo artist. I don't know what in my brain put Haim and Dua Lipa next to each other, but she came out as one person. I was stunned. But I know that song, though. I mean, that's the thing with a lot of these artists. Same thing happened when Doja Cat came out. It's like I heard the name and I've heard the songs, but I've never heard them together. So when she comes out and she sings that song, didn't even notice, no punches left to roll with, it's like, oh yeah, I was listening to that on the treadmill the other day. I think both of those ladies are very talented, though. Happy for the TikTok generation. Post Malone performed, surrounded by a bunch of Wiccans, I believe. I think what happened on stage at the Grammys might constitute as a seance, or at least like what happened to Agatha Harkness at the end of WandaVision. Spoiler alert for that show that makes no sense. Lil Baby comes out this time. He does his song The Bigger Picture, which was a big BLM anthem from last summer. Does a marvelous job. Staging was great. Killer Mike shows up. Love me some Killer Mike. But also that was filmed last week. Let's be honest about this. Then you've got the big awards at the end of the evening. And one of my favorite narratives, I think, from the entire show is watching Taylor Swift in like the second table from the front. It's like she didn't have the Beyoncé seat, but she didn't have the Phoebe Bridgers seat either. It's like right in the middle, just in the right spot to poke her nose in everyone else's business. And she's sitting there the whole night just eating crap. She loses to her. She loses to her ex-boyfriend, Harry Styles. She loses to Dua Lipa. And she's sitting there clapping away, pretending to be happy for these fools. And I'm sure she was happy. I'm sure she was genuinely happy. But I'll tell you what, if she lost that big award, no longer would she have been happy. So first she does this performance with Jack Antonoff and Aaron Dessner in this cabin that you can, I think, rent in the Catskills on Airbnb for like $500 a night. It's cool. It's very modern. She's on the top of this cabin. It's very mossy on the roof. And she's singing Cardigan while she's laying down in the moss. She then goes into the cabin where her two sex slaves, Aaron Dessner and Jack Antonoff, are hanging out. I'm sorry. They are two very talented musicians. But also when they go to bed, they sleep in a cage. They do the song August. It's quite lovely. One of my favorite songs from Folklore last year. And then they do the song Willow from the much more underwhelming record Evermore, which we're going to pretend didn't exist. So she does all that, show-stopping performance. She watches all of her friends and ex-boyfriends win the awards that she was nominated for. And finally, we get to Album of the Year, and her patience has paid off. 3 Album of the Year Grammys go to Taylor Swift, most for any woman all time, breaking more Grammy records, and all is right in the world. She's up there giving the speech as like union construction workers are earning time and a half in the background. My goodness, keep it down! Look, I love Folklore. Probably my favorite album of last year. I would have voted for it for Album of the Year. A well-deserved award. But I was not as happy for Taylor Swift last night as I was those 3 dudes standing behind her. Because had she had lost that award, one of them is going without food, one of them has to sleep in the backyard, and one of them is getting the hose. That's just the breaks, okay? When you are in Taylor's posse, those are the rules. That's what you've signed up for. You got to go on stage, you got to call her the greatest living songwriter, you got to take your trophy and go back home, put your leash on, get back in the cage. Terrifying, that woman. She scares me. I think we talked about BTS already. They come out, close the show. Honestly, I still don't know what they are. I don't know what they do. I don't know where they came from. But they're here now, and I guess we just have to live with them, don't we? I'm 25. And then we get to the final award, Record of the Year, the second greatest living Beatle. Ringo Starr comes out, gives Billie Eilish the Grammy for Record of the Year. I think one of the things I appreciated about the Grammys, as opposed to in years past, it's felt very chalky. It feels like, and this is for every award show, the voters tend to vote down ballot. So you have generally a very homogenous group of winners. As evident by last year, Billie Eilish, I think, swept all of the major categories, including Best New Artist, went 4 for 4. So it was kind of nice to see a different woman win each category. Although, would have been nice if The Weeknd was invited to the festivities. Ladies and gentlemen, The Weeknd ain't here. But Ringo gives Record of the Year to Billie Eilish, and Phineas is there, and those 2 kids are so adorable. Can't wait till they attend their junior prom. Man, that's the Grammys. It's award season. This is what it looks like now. I'm not crazy about it either, but I thought overall a pretty entertaining program. This is Cultured. Please do subscribe, hit whatever buttons you need to, and listen to my other podcasts. You can find it all on the website, TooManyThoughtsMedia.com or TMT.media for short. I'll try to do one of these a week at least. Catch you back here soon.